On today's episode, Robin gets to speak with Chris Mizzi, an amazing youth worker from Malta. Chris was the European Youth Worker of the Year in 2015. Chris is doing some amazing work with young people in Malta and across Europe. I hope you enjoy and get as much value as I did from watching this. Yo, and welcome to another episode of I Love Youth.
Hi, welcome to I Love Youth Work.
Welcome to another episode of I Love Youth Work.
Welcome to another edition of I Love Youth Work. That's the name.
I like youth work, and your mama loves youth work.
So welcome, Chris. Might be nice to just introduce yourself to the viewers and a little bit about who you are.
Yeah, basically I'm a youth worker. I've been a youth worker for these last 10 years. I started youth work in a grassroots youth organization, and then I moved and started working with the youth agency.
Mm-hmm.
And now,
How long have you been with the agency?
I've been these last 6 years.
Okay, and that's the venue that we came to see you at.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Youth.inc. Youth.inc. Amazing project, and I'd like to ask you a little bit more about that project and how it's been.
Yeah, I think it looks like it's a good project because we having a good response from the young people. It's a project aimed for young people from 16 to 21 years old.
Yep.
And it gives the young people an opportunity to find themselves and decide what they want to do in their life.
And huge amounts of young people. It seemed to be hundreds and hundreds.
Yes, at the moment we have like 120
Okay.
young people.
And they're involved in some training, but they're involved in training and getting some qualifications around all kinds of different topics. If you could say a little bit more about that, please.
Yes. We call it a program. So basically,
Okay.
it's a program, and they decide how much they want to do from this program. So it's based on three levels. It's level 1, level 2, and level 3. And each level consists of about 9 months. 9 months. So it depends the skills the young people have. It depends on which level they enter into the program.
So it might be nice, I don't know whether you've got a case or a young person in mind that you think has probably been the perfect transition through that program. If you could give us a little bit of an indication of how that was for the young person.
Yes. Basically, this person finished secondary education, and he had no idea what he's gonna do. So the choice was or stay at home or run about in the streets, or try to find a job, or try to go into further education. So basically, this young person decided to come and talk to me because I used to be his youth worker when he was in secondary school.
Okay.
And I advised him that maybe he can enter into this program and see if he decides to continue in this program. And that's what he did. He entered the program to level 1. So basically, the level 1 is more aimed at gaining life skills. Mm-hmm. So the idea is that we give the young people skills to be independent. They can live independently.
Right.
And and then he progressed to level 2 and level 3. Level 2 is more based on vocational skills. So the idea is that during these 9 months, the young person taste different skills like electricity, plumbing, hairdressing, filming, cooking. So the young person can see different skills and decide, yes, this thing I like it, this thing, no, I'm not gonna do this in my life. So, they decide by themselves which skill they want to further on.
Fantastic. And there's also some arts-based stuff, there's some music.
Yes, drama, music, yes, filming,
Wonderful.
photography.
What really struck me during the visit that we had to your place was the way that they learn. It's very specific. It's not a lesson.
No, because actually the program is led by youth workers, and I think that's the main ingredient of the program. It's led by youth workers, and it's applied learning. So most of the learning is doing things. It's learning by doing, and it's project based. So basically, it's quite a mixture of things in one thing. So to give you an example is that if we're doing a cooking session, it's not just a cooking session. You're sitting there, you're seeing somebody saying, "Oh, you must do this, this, and this." So we sit down, we say, "Okay, what we're gonna cook today? We're gonna cook pizza. Okay, what ingredients we need for the pizza? we need these ingredients. So then we need to go and buy the ingredients. We need to see what the budget we have to buy the ingredients. Then we need to follow the recipe. We need to put the good amount of ingredients. So that's what we call it, the applied learning. So in this session, we're learning English because we're reading and we're talking and we're writing. We're having mathematics because we're weighing stuff and we're calculating. You have the life skill because you're going to the shop, you're interacting with other people. So that's why we call it the applied learning.
And I mean, one of your colleagues, I can't remember her name, the lady that was there. Deborah told a story about being tempted to tell them to not buy so much of the pasta, wasn't it? Don't buy so much pasta. But the young people chose the amounts, they chose the recipe, so they bought too much pasta. And she knew that, but she held back, and then later on there's another learning opportunity.
Exactly.
So what are we going to do with all this pasta, guys?
Because that's the youth worker approach. That's not, no, you shouldn't do that, this is how you should do it. You
learn from the mistakes.
Yeah, exactly. You give them the idea, they do it, then you discuss the idea and you discuss what went wrong, what went good, what could have been improved.
Yeah.
And that's the youth worker approach in the program.
Your eyes light up when you're talking about it. You're obviously a passionate man about your work, which is important, I think, in youth work. Yeah. If it's just the tick in the box and doing it for the job, or doing it for the money, sometimes not that it's particularly good money, young people can feel that. And obviously we've been at this conference, just finished, 2.5 days of the Commonwealth and the EU coming together to discuss youth workers and youth work and where are we going with this thing. How did you feel about the conference? What was your experience like?
It was quite interesting.
Okay.
I came here to get answers for my questions. However, I'm leaving this conference with more questions.
Is that a good thing or?
I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but I think it's good because the more you question, the more you can get answers back. So I think it's a good thing that we're questioning more the way we're working and the way we're doing our job.
What was the highlight for you of this conference?
That's a good
more than one if you need to.
Good question. I think the highlight is that getting sometimes we spend a lot of time doing the same thing and we think, okay, this is youth work, this is how it's supposed to be. And then you hear a talk or you meet other people and you speak with them and say like, whoa, this is completely different what I'm doing. I think this is what I can try and this is a new thing that I should explore more. And I think there were two main things. It was the fifth space concept. So I think it was a very, very interesting idea.
That was fantastic.
Because it basically gave a theory of what me as a youth worker always thought about it, but there was nothing really concrete. Concrete on it. So now I think it's good that all the other sectors come together and
how will that influence your practice? You've been doing what you do for a while. You know what you're doing. What did you take from that?
I think I need to focus more. Because sometimes we fall as youth workers, we fall in the trap of the system. Basically, that we need to make the young people part of the statistics of the country, of the economy, and of the system that's around us. So sometimes we really fall in this trap. So I think this fifth spacing made me understand that the young person must understand himself, and then he needs to decide which path he's gonna
you're right.
take.
I mean, we can pretend they're not part of the community. We can pretend that they're separate, but the reality is that's not true. So what about the aspect of professionalization that was discussed throughout the conference? We had people here from all over the globe, various different contexts, obviously different countries, but different belief systems and different practices. You're based here in Malta, where we heard during the conference that you've got a very strong youth sector. It is governmental, it's statutory, it's well-resourced. How does that pan out here for you? Some youth workers were here from small organisations or tiny little island states. We had it all here. How do you feel as a youth worker here with all of those resources and that government backing, which some countries don't get?
It's quite funny. The reason it's funny, I don't know if it's funny or pathetic, because although we have all these structures and other countries look at us and say, wow, this is what we're aiming for, in my day-to-day jobs with young people, it's still far away from what we think it is.
Right.
And I can give you an example. I was with a young person, and I helped him because he needed an ID card. So I helped him fill on the forms, and we went to the ID office. So he applied for an ID card, and of course, in the form, a professional must sign on behalf of the young person so he can apply for an ID card. And I signed the form, and I gave it to the person at the office, and he told me, no, it needs to be a professional to sign this. I said, yes, it's signed. You see it? He said, yeah, but it needs a doctor or a lawyer. I said, yeah, it's a youth worker, it's a professional. And he was like, but what's a youth worker? And I was explaining to this guy what's a youth worker, and that I'm a youth worker and I can sign this thing. And that's very interesting, because although we have all the structures and all the checks and balances for a professional to do this thing, the system still doesn't know that a youth worker exists and can do this thing. And
even in a place like this, with
exactly,
with all of that.
And this happened also with different things, even like for young people to apply for a passport. The first time I signed for a young person to apply for a passport, I got a call from the passport office saying, can I speak to this Chris Mizzi? I said, yeah, it's me. I said, you cannot sign for a passport because it needs to be a professional. I said, yeah, youth work is a professional. So, although we have all these things,
you're proving your point.
Yeah.
Soon they won't ask anymore. Yeah.
And that's why I do my best to sign these papers, was that gives power to the youth worker to
Wow, I wasn't expecting that. The way we've heard it is that it's accepted, it's known, it's throughout the island. The other thing that struck me about the professionalisation piece, that discussion, is, and it was brought out into the open, when we professionalise something, if we standardise something, we make it uniform. We make it the same. And part of the strength of the youth work approach is that we're flexible and we're different and we're adaptable and we're dynamic and innovative. How does that play out in your work? Because you've got the standardization, but I'm presuming that the way you work is not like that. It is dynamic and flexible.
It is. And I think that's what youth work is. It's flexibility and being dynamic.
Yeah.
And although I am in favor of being of professionalization, I'm also worried that this thing will put youth workers in a corner, and most of the work they're doing will stop doing the way they're doing it. And I can give examples of what happened in Malta to the teachers. I think the teachers a few years ago, they were the youth workers, because like teachers used to give education to the young people, like teach them the curriculum, but also be the youth worker, give them guidance and give them advices and help them.
Yeah.
But nowadays the teachers are strictly giving them information. So if I'm teaching English, this is this, and that's it. If you have another problem, go to the counselor. If you have another, go to the social worker.
Right.
And sometimes I worry that youth workers, because of they're being professionalized, they fall in the same trap and say, okay, this I cannot do it, this I won't do it, it's not good if I do it, and instead of, see the young person as a young person and see what the young person needs.
Yeah. So Chris, let me wrap up with one final question on that point. What can we do as a tribe to prevent that from happening? Knowing that the professionalisation is coming, it's being discussed, it's global, what can we do to make sure we don't lose that dynamism?
I think we need to keep the flexibility in our that's the main key as a youth worker. Be flexible and adapt to the situations you are to. Of course, you all need to be follow the code of ethics that a youth worker has. So although you're being flexible, you're guided by the code.
Yeah, we're not saying don't study. We're not saying don't get qualified. We're not saying don't go and look at the competencies and the ethical frameworks. We're not saying don't do that, but I think what we're saying is be mindful of this need to be.
But although be mindful, but also don't be afraid to take the risk.
Yeah.
It's very important, not afraid to take the risk. And
Wow, thank you. Any last points you want to make while the camera's rolling?
I think the last point maybe should be that we need to always be the agent of social change. We need to always be those people that change.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.